Okay, hi and welcome finally to our presentation on how to supercharge your impact. So, how aligning your content and learning solution drives faster results. Um, Sorry for the slight delay. It took a couple seconds more. We had a couple problems getting into or using the link. A couple of the guests or listeners had to update their Zoom. So with no further ado, let me start the presentation here. So as I said already, this is going to be a panel talk on how to supercharge your impact by aligning your content and learning solution to drive faster results. So in this panel talk, you can, of course, post questions in the chat. We'll try to get those questions as soon as possible. We'll have designed breaks, I think, at the medium point of our webinar, and at the final point for you to ask questions on the content. So with me today, I have two guests, which are our subject matter experts. From Open Sesame, I have Rosh Patel. Hello, Rosh.
Hi, how are you all? Nice to be here.
Great having you. And Rosh is the strategic partner at Open Sesame. And like I said, he is our subject matter expert. So it's going to be really exciting to see and hear what he has to say. And with me from IMC AG is Uwe Hochschröer, and he's the head of learning and consulting. Hello, Uwe.
Forward for an interesting webinar.
Okay, the first part was cut off, but I believe we caught the most essential part, that you're looking forward to an exciting webinar. And I
just said hello
myself,
to everyone.
I'm Kenneth, I'm the host, and I'll take you through this webcast or webinar and guide you a little bit through the whole conversation. So let's take a look. Uwe is going to be starting with a little bit of scene setting on supercharging your impact. So I'll leave the talking part now over to Uwe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, welcome everyone again for our webinar on the partnership between Open Sesame and IMC. And the idea is to give you a bit of context first, or make sure everyone is kind of on the same page before we go into the details of our partnership and the solution we're creating together. So I try to kind of place the topic a bit in a more general context. So the thing we're talking about in our partnership is, of course, supercharge your impact, and everyone knows impact, of course, is a part that is mainly influenced by all the elements of a learning and development strategy. But what we are talking about today is especially the kind of content element of it. Kenny, I can't see the slides at the moment.
Yes, that's true. I can't see them either, but maybe we can present those. 1 second, we'll present those in full view so we can have a focus on the slides rather than on you, Uwe. There we go.
There's still a Teams message visible.
No. Okay, there we go.
So can you just click one further? So what I said, we're talking about the content part. And this is, of course, I don't know, one of the main and most important questions for anyone working in learning and development in an organization. So how can we provide the right content to the right people at the right time? That's kind of a more or less philosophical question. And if you move one on, the question about right content is kind of tricky, because when we look at what content topics we have to cover, if you just click one more, we see, okay, we have a lot of topics that are in generally needed and required and demanded by across all employees of an organization, and it makes it even more tricky, as every employee is affected by each of the topics in a different extent due to their position in the organization and the actual work tasks. And of course, we have different moments of needs. Things like the topics or the my demand for a topic like data security or about the products or processes is not the same when I'm in initial qualification or in vocational training. If I just have to update my skills or reskill, or I have some on-demand learning tasks. So the right content is really not something that can be easily answered. And this is why any organization has a huge challenge to provide the content and learning offers that the staff needs. And to cover the needs, organizations have in general different options, different content sourcing options. So next slide, please. We have different sources, like you can do it in-house in your internal content team, or people contributing internally, like doing the instructional design, doing the production using, for example, authoring tools. On the lower left side, you can ask companies like IMC Studios. We are doing bespoke content projects for customers about a broad range of topics and formats. So this is kind of the external version of the in-house content team. And you have also different other options like user-generated content, like involving subject matter experts from your organization directly in creating content, like videos, checklists, to-do one pages and stuff like that. And this is also possible via things like authoring tools, and they got pretty easy, and also with the rise of the internet, content creation got way easier for internal people as well. And you have things like, as kind of the fourth element here, you have kind of content libraries you can use. E-learning marketplaces like Open Sesame, that's kind of broad lists of already prepared content, off the shelf, usable in different scenarios that you can use to complement your internal or externally produced bespoke solutions. Just one remark, I left out AI generated content for the moment. I mean, this will be definitely a huge topic in the future, but for the moment, the technology from our evaluation is not really ready to create full content elements and formats. So still assistance is needed, and this will be definitely a huge topic in the future. But for the moment, it's more or less more supportive tools for the other sources. So when you as an organization ask yourself, okay, what is the sourcing strategies we should pursue, it's important to understand, if you go one slide further and just one click, and we're talking about two different points in time, really. On the left side, you see the strategic phase where you can kind of decide, okay, what kind of content portfolio do we want to provide? What is our budget? What are the best ways to fulfill the demands? What is kind of our general approach we want to use? When in the second phase, the concrete sourcing, you have to make a decision, okay, how do we meet a concrete demand, for example, for leadership trainings or for product trainings? What do we do that? So in the first phase, you actually build up kind of your toolbox where you can pick from in the second phase, to make an efficient and quick and most reliable solution. So this is kind of important for what we are discussing further. And if you just go one slide further, so every of the content sourcing strategies has their pros and cons. So they are efficient in one case and maybe not so efficient in the other case. And for today and the partnership between IMC and Open Sesame, we want to look at the kind of fourth element, the e-learning marketplaces, because from what we see as IMC, it has a lot of potential and it's kind of a bit overlooked by most companies because it's not that easy to integrate, to make full use of, and really to realize all the benefits from that. Yeah, so that will be our topic for today. And just as this is the end of the short introduction, maybe a question for the chat if anyone already has some experiences with marketplaces, the integration in their own learning scenarios.
Okay, let's see if the chat responds there to your question, Uwe. I think the presentation and the setting is pretty well framed, so I think we can really work with that. Let's give another couple seconds. I don't see anybody having any questions in the chat at the moment, so let's proceed then forward with the next slides. So we're now going to take a deep dive after setting the scenario. We're going to take a deep dive into the question as Uwe had pointed out. And one of the first questions that we want to ask or basically find out, and we'll do, like I said, this is a panel talk, so the question will be posed first to Uwe and then to Raj, who can follow up. And the question is, what are current developments from customers, prospects, and the market in terms of learning demands?
Bit of a change as far as we realize. Of course, learning and development is generally kind of facing the same challenges as other parts of the business as well, like high dynamics, transformation in businesses and technologies. So this is kind of in our assessment, making the future probably more uncertain than ever. It's a bit of a just a saying, but what we are seeing is kind of the demands are shifting a bit, the proportions are shifting. So we see a bit of a restraint in the demand for custom content solutions, like the highly bespoke, individualized learning contents, due to things like budget sensitivity, quicker time frames needed for training solutions. But on the other side, kind of the answers organizations and companies are looking for are still more or less the same. So everyone's looking for digital contents who scale better, going for learning path, to keep it manageable for large groups of users. So that's still kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. And even though there is a bit of interest in alternative ways, collaborative learning, social learning, user-generated content, stuff like that, it's still not that huge of a topic for companies. So we still need to find solutions for more or less the same questions.
Okay, so let's pose the question then over to Raj. What do you see, Raj?
So from an Open Sesame perspective, we might tackle it just slightly differently because of kind of maybe some of our customers are in different countries and with different needs. But Uwe is absolutely correct. We are typically solving some of the same challenges businesses have, but in terms of the dynamic we're beginning to see a lot more of at the moment, especially in organizations who have operations in areas where they originally may have really gone fully digital in some capacity following COVID, etc., is there a shift back to a more blended approach, a more holistical learning and development capability. They're seeing the benefits and they're hearing feedback from their learners around, hey, we just don't want to be consuming digital capabilities or learning in a very uninformal way. We still want that interaction. We want a blended approach. So organizations kind of re-rationalizing. So we're certainly finding lots of organizations coming to us and saying, actually, we would like you to help us understand how we can create learning paths that are multimodal. And it's a really interesting word to say when you're presenting. But for me, it kind of resonates a hell of a lot because I'm dyslexic, for example, and my learning modality is very visual, very short and sharp. So if I was working or being asked to consume something very text-based or very linear-based, I would struggle. So a lot of organizations are definitely kind of shifting back to that, but asking more of their suppliers. They're looking for some more support from a vendor. I kind of call it L&D for L&D because as professionals in this industry, we're asked to work at pace more than ever before, and we're asked to do more with less. So, going with that theme of working with trusted providers, we would like to think that how we've kind of brought this partnership together with IMC allows organizations to address a plethora of challenges, but also give them the reassurance that there is a trusted team of profiles within our both businesses that will help a customer and help an organization hopefully reach their goals around their learning maturity, wherever that sits. Does that answer your question in hopefully some concise way?
It definitely does. And in the first response that I see here in our chat, it also resonates with the listeners. Sorry, I can't read the names, but in this case, Katrina said, yes, we also try to, whoops, now it's gone. We also try to get back to an engaging mix of formats, not just e-learning. So I think that's a really good point there. So what you've already addressed resonates with our listeners here in the webcast. So let's proceed to our next question that we had. 1 second, we'll click on the presentation again. Okay, so back at the presentation. So the follow-up question is then, of course, how do we support these learning needs using services and solutions? Again, question will be first answered by Uwe and then followed up by Rosh.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe following also what Rosh just said for the first question. I also agree that a mix of different formats is very, very beneficial for customers and gives you the opportunity to go away a bit from these one-size-fits-all solutions. What we see is that organizations, and especially smaller organizations, are still a bit cautious about, okay, we're kind of heading in areas we're not really familiar with. We're not we don't have really a lot of experience if we can manage it, if the budget is okay for that, for more complex, more modal or more differentiated scenarios. So that is also something that we try in our solutions we're working on with the customers as an answer to say, okay, it's always a good idea to to make yourself familiar with different ways of kind of sourcing the different formats, because maybe it's easier to create an internal solution for something. You can complement with some digital formats, but most of the time the bigger parts are not just one bespoke content solution, but in the blend of solutions you can be more efficient also in terms of kind of budgets and time to market, if you will. So we're kind of trying to open up the mindset of our customers to say, okay, embrace different sourcings and different content types into your solutions. And this is also referring to the different phases I showed at the beginning. Like you have the strategic phase, make yourself familiar, make yourself comfortable with different sources and different formats. So then in case of a concrete demand, you can use it and create a better solution.
Okay, cool. Rosh, then over to you.
Thank you. So this one's quite an interesting one, because they're like, any organization can say they can stand up, in my opinion, services that may underpin success. But I think the starting point is, like, for me, when we're understanding a customer's needs, are like, what problem are we solving and what outcomes are we looking to try and drive? And then from there, we can really unpack what we need to create as a solution, how we need to deploy it, who we need to sort of give access to. And then as you go down that sort of that process, you will be able to then deliver that overall capability, however that may look, be it a blended solution, be it an entire digital capability, etc., etc. But where I think Open Sesame come into into a lot of value for customers is, one of our key focuses is on helping an organization create and craft learning paths that help to deliver those outcomes. So be it, decrease the disengagement within an organization's workforce. And there are some statistical mathematics that are out there around how you can work out what that actually looks like. But our team and our core focus is, yes, we have a very large digital portfolio, and that's overwhelming. There's no doubt about it. We shouldn't hide behind that potential fact that some organizations can find that quite daunting. So as part of one of our value-added capabilities is having access to an SME, and a sort of turnkey solution that we offer is a curator that says, hey, what problem are you trying to solve? What learning outcomes, what behaviors, what are you trying to do here? And what is this fitting within? So from the context of how we work with IMC have a range of services and solutions that support the customer. And it would be our team's role and IMC's role, so to speak, to come together and make sure when we're delivering, we understand what that is delivering against across both businesses, and ensuring that we complement each other to add value to the customer. And hopefully, in the end, give our colleagues in the customer setting the ability to prove ROI or impact, and however that would be measured based on the business decision the organization made in coming together for our entire solution, or the partnership in its form. That's one way that we might be able to tackle it, for example. But it's all about understanding kind of what the customer is looking for and how they're looking to deliver it. And it all goes back to that start. And typically, I'll always be asking the question, why are we doing this? What are we trying to do? And I know that many L&D folk are challenging their own internal stakeholders around, why do we need this first? So asking that question 3 times unbelievably offers lots of different answers. But there you go.
Yeah, but
okay,
I think
great, Rosh. I think you made a great point there. I would agree with both of you. And one thing that resonates with me personally, I think, is the availability of a subject matter expert, both at IMC and at Open Sesame, because oftentimes, the customers are challenged with the amount of information, the amount of products that are out there. So if both organizations are able to have, great subject matter experts on hand for the customers, then that surely makes everything just a little bit more easy. Okay, let's take a look at the next question that we have prepared for you. So, how is digital learning from a marketplace as Open Sesame helping to support these needs? And what types of business outcomes has or can that support? So in this case, I'd place the question in this case first to Raj and then to Uwe to respond to.
Thank you. So without trying to repeat some of the kind of the sort of the phrasing I mentioned earlier, but we have quite a broad portfolio, so we can service and support lots of different needs an organization has, but we can also be really specific. So I talked about kind of when Open Sesame work with IMC and our shared customers around understanding those needs. And for me, as I mentioned just a moment or two ago, it's the why, but also where an organization or customer is within their learning maturity model. So Josh Burson has a learning maturity model that we use quite a lot to help evaluate where a customer is now and where they want to get to. So we can really understand if they are looking to be maybe quite transactional when they're supporting a digital learning need or a learning need in their L&D strategy, or if they're looking for quite developmental and discoverable learning. So that creates and crafts a totally different way of engaging with their learners, delivering to their learners, and executing against their L&D strategy. But in terms of the diverse needs that we can support, we can support organizations, and in the last 12 months-ish, for example, well, listen, actually, I've seen Open Sesame support organizations with compliance requirements, so really making sure that we can support an organization's compliance need, be it from specific legislation, equipment-based, the list is pretty endless, reducing time from an onboarding perspective, supporting an organization who is looking to skill and reskill, which I'm sure many colleagues on this call will be looking to try and tackle. Skilling and reskilling is probably perhaps one of the most single largest challenges that organizations are trying to rationalize, changing business processes and shifting businesses' behaviors or the businesses' behaviors from one place to the next. So we can be really broad, but we can be really specific. But in the context of how the marketplace comes into situ is because of its broad depth, we can tap into lots of different learning modalities, learning styles, create and craft those learning paths or those learning journeys to really hypothesize on a particular group or segment of your organization, but also tackle those kind of really broad compliance needs or those large business process requirements or those very generic topics like Microsoft, for example. I know it's quite cliche to say, but it's still a popular course for those who do still use it quite rightfully. So we have a ton of expertise, but again, we work hand in hand with colleagues at IMC to sort of really make sure that we can underpin that with a really core LMS that helps to deliver and execute that. Because that's the key, that sort of turnkey capability.
Okay, so let's flip it over to Uwe and your response to the question.
Yeah, from my perspective, just to bring it to one point, it is a marketplace like Open Sesame with the catalog, the curation services, the expertise. For any company, it offers you a flexibility to cover your learning needs, to build learning scenarios in different ways for different target groups, for different types of demands, which you can't really build up for yourself with reasonable cost and effort. So you just gain a lot of options you have to meet your demands, because you kind of have this back catalog of high quality content for different types of needs and different solutions, and you can easily integrate it into your own scenarios. And again, this is or the point I wanted to make at the beginning is, it's always difficult to use such an integration in such a marketplace when you're just talking about, okay, we have limited time to provide a solution for one demand, because you need to make yourself familiar with that, understand how they are working, understand the needs and stuff like that. And it's easier, and it kind of reduces things like process cost and makes decisions way easier if you say, okay, we think about the options of such a marketplace, and we maybe do pilot projects, and we understand how they work, we understand the possibilities to integrate it into our LMS and our learning scenarios. Because if that is prepared and you have a good understanding, in the case certain demands comes up, you can say, okay, this is something that's we can work on with Open Sesame and IMC, for example, and we have a quick and efficient solution, because we are working with processes we've already tested, and we understand what kind of content to expect, what kind of curation services and expertise to expect, and that makes it easier in the kind of challenging moment. Okay, there's a new topic coming up, a new technology coming up. We need to make sure our employees, or the employees related to that topic, get training very quickly. And this is a moment where you say, okay, we doing this internally or with an external content provider might be difficult, but Open Sesame might already have part or all of the answer, and we can integrate it. And that makes it efficient, and that makes it quick, and kind of the process cost in the actual case are very low.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like there's a very good partnership here going on, that both sides profit a lot from the expertise in the various areas. So as you said, Uwe, you can react quicker when you know the amount and the kind of content that Open Sesame basically curates. And from Rash's perspective, working with the IMC, knowing exactly what structure and so forth to integrate, that makes it easier for them too. So let's look at the next question that we have here. So we might have answered this question already a little bit, but maybe we can expand on it. And that would be, what does the partnership of IMC and Open Sesame mean for customers and prospects? I'll start with Uwe in this case, and then go over to Rash.
Yeah, I agree. We've already covered, I think, part of it already. So we bring together things like the information and structures you have for the company and the employees and the scenarios in the LMS, like user information, training management processes by supervisor, target groups, stuff like that, and the functionality, how learning offers are provided to them in catalogs, in learning path, with automatic bookings and stuff like that. And we map this for concrete demands with this huge library of contents, of learning paths, of pre-curated contents, solutions to cover certain skills. So this is kind of, in the case of an actual need, you can say, okay, I have the technology to deliver the stuff, I have the content library, and if I integrate it, I can come up really quick and really fast with efficient solutions, which are kind of way more efficient than creating something on your own totally from scratch.
Okay, cool. Then let me drop the question then over to Raj.
Thank you. As a combined partnership, we can do a hell of a lot together, and we already are, which is amazing. And to sort of build on what Uwe mentioned, and just kind of generifying the answer a little bit, and apologies that it might sound a little less specific, but I guess our combined partnership delivers potentially, in my opinion, two world-class organizations who have been in and around the industry for a long, long time, who have great pedigree, great quality capabilities, and coming together hopefully should deliver a combined solution that gives customers the reassurance that they've got access to products, services, and solutions that will help them deliver outcomes now and in the future. And just to build on that, I think both organizations fundamentally at the heart of what they do and they deliver in terms of their services is we want to deliver change, and we want to help organizations evolve. And that's the key, right? No organization sits still. We certainly don't. And we're always looking to find new ways to innovate, to connect, to deliver with customers, with our partners. And I think what you'll get between the two organizations is all of that wrapped up into one, and then the ability to continue to evolve your organization's learning development needs. And we will hopefully help you do that with all of the capabilities that we support as a shared partnership. I was about to say capabilities again, apologies. But yeah, there's so many ways to answer that, and I don't want to kind of rattle on to.
I think you did a good job there, Raj, and I think the audience is picking up on both of the messages that you guys are sending, and I believe that the question has been answered. So let's take a look at our next slide then. So this is where, of course, it gets a little bit interesting because here we have a visual representation which Uwe will walk us through and give us a little insight and information on what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I think these two slides, I promise they will be the last ones you see today, is coming from the Open Sesame course catalog, the marketplace with the different publishers and all of the courses and curated lists and stuff like that. And if you can switch to the next slide, maybe as a summary of our partnership is what we are trying to achieve is to say, okay, how can we use this course library and bring it together with the functionalities of the ILS and say, okay, we can create a content delivery that's really adaptive and really been able to serve different target groups and be part of learning path, also in blended learning scenarios with or certifications in a company, combined with already existing learning offers and required stuff. And it can be integrated into job profiles and skills to build a continuous measurement of that. And I think this is what we are aiming for in the partnership, to say, okay, we can deliver something that really is a quick and efficient answer to some demand. If you, for example, say, okay, we need to restart or rebuild our leadership training, we can, as a partner in the partnership, we can look, okay, what is the actual need and how can we cover it the best, and maybe make use of things that are already available in the library and combine it to learning path with things that are already existing, and then try to build up, bring in the expertise to say, okay, we can make it even more custom, even more specific for certain target groups, and kind of build this modal optional learning offer that is in the end more efficient for anyone, but making use of the different options we have to integrate companies. integrate offers.
Okay, and we'll pose then the question over to Rosh on the slide. Do you have any comments that you'd like to make on that from your perspective, of course?
Yeah, to be honest, I think Uwe's really been able to articulate that really, really well. Again, it ultimately depends on what problem we're solving, and then what's the best way to tackle that, and how can we blend that within the context of what a customer has, and how can we do that in an efficient, effective way for me.
Okay, great. We also have another question posted in the chat. Let me see if I can get it large enough so I can see it. Okay, the question is again from Katarina. She says, I understand there is a huge range of topics in the marketplace available. But another question, do you also offer training for internal content creators on storytelling, technical opportunities, AI-supported e-learning creation, etc.? In this case, I think, Rosh, that question would probably be directed to you.
Sure. So, Katarina, thank you for your question. We do have, as you say, quite a broad range of topics, and they're actually categorized into 9 different topics. We can send you a breakdown of that through the IMC team following the session and across to the group if they would like it. But to answer your question, we do have a number of courses that help with storytelling. So that's something we definitely have. Do we have digital resources that help you create content from an authoring capability? That's something we don't have currently in our library, but we definitely have a lot of information on AI. So that's something we can unpack with you for sure, depending on kind of what you're looking for from an AI perspective. But we certainly don't have anything kind of out of the box that covers content creation using AI at the moment. Will we have that in the long term? If I was a betting man, I would say yes, for sure.
Okay. Okay, so we're getting to the end of this webinar. So let me throw out, oh, wait, a question. There's one more question here that I have. The next question I have is, how can Open Sesame be integrated into an LMS? I think both individuals can answer that. Let's hear maybe from Uwe's side first, and then from Rosh's side.
We are working on the integration right now is providing access in the LMS, in the IMC LMS. I mean, so speaking for our LMS, making available the contents from the Open Sesame catalog. So you can kind of import courses and sources and curated lists and stuff like that into the course catalog or into the catalog of the ILS, and from there use it to build catalogs for the learners, learning path courses and stuff like that. The technical integration is still an ongoing topic, so we're also thinking about other options to make available the different functions from the Open Sesame. But in the moment, it's like, okay, we provide the contents from the marketplace into the LMS, and there it is available to be used in the LMS elements and setups.
Okay, good. Rosh, do you have anything to add, or are there other integrations that you've also that you can share with our customers or listeners? Sorry.
Yeah. So look, there's no hiding behind. Open Sesame have lots of different partnerships globally, and we have lots of different integrations with lots of different target LMS systems. They can be found on our website. So I'll sort of leave any colleagues to kind of have a look at our website for today. But yeah, as Uwe mentioned, we are working on an integration with the team, and we make it, as we would like to think, we'll make it as simple as possible in the short term for our shared customers to evaluate digital learning when they're in that process of looking at our shared value proposition, our shared solution, and then we will help and support customers in making sure that that is made available within IMC and made available ultimately to their learners. And we'll do that on an ongoing basis to make sure that any learning outcomes or any needs that we're looking to support the customer with is evaluated on an ongoing basis. And this is something we do with our customers at no additional cost. It's part of our wrapped around service.
Okay, so as we can tell, I believe everybody's the chat is heating up now. It appears that everybody's now anxious to get in a couple questions before we conclude this discussion here or this panel talk. The question here comes from Gabor, and the question is, are these courses free or do we need to pay for the content producer, for example, Litmos, NSparks, etc., if we want to use them?
So I think that sounds like it's a question for me for sure.
Yes.
So yeah, just to sort of add some additional context. So we have, from memory, 200 plus publishers, as we call them, within our entire portfolio of 40,000 courses, roughly, and that's always increasing. But we do have a number of publishers. Litmos is one of those. So it is a paid for subscription. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. We don't offer free courses, but yeah, we aggregate from a number of publishers across the world, and one of our kind of key value statements is that quality is very important to us. So we are very, very specific on what we bring into the portfolio. We have a 39-point evaluation process for every single publisher that comes through our process. And we actually have a 92% rejection rate on publishers. So 92% of the time, an organization or publisher may come to us and say, "Hey, we want to be in your portfolio." We'll say no because they don't meet our strict guidelines and our quality standards. Joking aside, apparently it is harder to get into Harvard, harder to get into Open Sesame's content portfolio than it is in Harvard. I'm led to believe by my US colleagues, but believe me, I'm not entirely sure if that's 100% true, but I've been told that is somewhat valid.
Okay, that's an interesting pitch. So it's harder to get into as a content provider to get into Open Sesame than it is to get into Harvard. I'll take you on that. I'll apply to Harvard and we'll see, and I'll create some content and we'll see where I get an application in first. Okay, so we are close to the end of our webinar here. So I would like to wrap this up maybe with 2 comments. This is where I'm going to freeball it. Oops, that was close.